Very good afternoon to everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for this pre-match press conference with Aiden Markram. Source, if I can ask you to please put your video function back on so we can have a look at you. As usual, I'd like to just remind everyone to please keep their monitors muted while you're not asking a question, to put your request for a question on the chat panel, and we'll get started from there. Thank you so much. For those who can go first. Oh, sorry, just before you go, I'd like to just remind everyone to please ask one question at a time, and then we'll circle back to everybody at the end, just so that we can make sure we get in everybody in with at least one question at the very least. Thanks, everybody. You can go ahead for those.
Hi, Aiden. Hope you're doing well. Aiden, I'm just wondering about the flexibility in your batting position. I mean, it's been mentioned that the team is kind of seeing you as someone who can open or bat a bit lower down, which is what we're seeing now. How do you feel in the different positions, and does it feel like maybe the side's a bit top heavy?
Yeah, thanks for those. Yeah, look, I'm not too sure about it being top heavy. Obviously, there is quite a few top order batters. I think I've spoken a bit to the coach and to Temba as well, just about various roles that they potentially see me or at least giving me a chance in. And ultimately, I'm happy to give any role a go. Obviously, requiring the best for the team and also needing to still get the job done. But yeah, experimenting with a few roles at the moment, which is probably not a bad thing with quite a few top order batters being in the squad as well.
Ken and then Tianis.
Thanks, Sips. Hi, Aiden. Just following up on that, you have batted middle order a bit in domestic cricket, I think especially the 50-over stuff, but what sort of alterations to your game are you going to need to bring to bat sort of 4 or maybe even lower in T20 cricket?
Look, I think I need to put a lot of work in sort of the power hitting side of things, and also sort of being able to go to that, potentially not have faced a lot of balls, whereas generally at the top, if you do find yourself at the back end of the innings, you would have had time to at least get yourself in. So that's an adjustment and something that we're putting a lot of time into. But having said that, like I said to Firdous, I think a lot of it just comes down to sorry, I don't know what's going on. They're going to put the fire alarm on now, so I hope you can still hear me. But yeah, that's sort of the role that I've been given for this tour now, and it's at number 4, so it's being able to adapt well out to the conditions that we get given, and the situation of the game will become quite important as well.
Apologies.
How's it, Aiden?
Sorry, just to say.
May I have your attention?
Sorry, everyone. It's a fire alarm.
May I have your attention,
at the
please?
hotel.
Can I go, or do you guys need to evacuate?
No, it's a test fire alarm. So I think if we could just give it maybe a few minutes.
Cool.
Please.
Sorry, everyone, about that. It looks like it has been order has been restored. They were testing the fire alarm. Oh my gosh. Okay, we've been told that it is done now.
Okay.
Apologies about this, everyone. I think let's just start over with the previous question because I barely heard the response. Ken, if we can go again, sorry.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, and it's just a follow-up for what Fido's asked. How do you, I mean, I know obviously you've played number 4 and middle order for the Titans and in white ball cricket, mostly 50 over, but what sort of alterations to your game do you need to bring in order to bat there in T20 cricket?
Am I off mute? Yeah. Ken, I think a lot of it comes down to playing situations better. Obviously, as an opener, you pretty much know exactly what your role is each and every time you walk out to bat. Whereas in the middle order, those roles might change completely based on the situation of the game. And then just in terms of an actual batting side of things, I think it's quite important to develop a power game that I can go to earlier on. I think I'm generally, if I do, or I'm used to when I do bat at the back end of an innings, I would have spent quite a bit of time there because naturally I was opening. Whereas now at 4 or somewhere in the middle order, you might end up walking out to bat in the back end and being able to pull the trigger from pretty early in your innings is something that I've been training and something that I need to continue training and improving on.
Thank you. Tianis, you can go ahead.
How's it, Aiden? Just following up on that, how do you train to pull the trigger from the word go? I mean, it's probably not only a strength thing, because I mean, you look like a pretty strong guy, but what sort of exercises or training, what can you do to help you with that?
I think, look, it's ultimately each player will have a different thing that works for them. I think for me, it's about walking into a net session and understanding that potentially from ball 1, I need to be able to, like we said, pull the trigger. So those are the things. It's not about walking into a net now and sort of feeling your way around and getting yourself in. It's sort of getting into that net session with a lot of intensity and always looking for a boundary pretty much. And if it's not there, to be able to at least get 1 or hit space for 2. And if it is in your slot, being confident that you can get it away, albeit early in your innings as well.
Kanye-san, then we'll go back to Fido's.
Good afternoon, Aiden. In the conversations that you've had with your coaches and your teammates, have you guys been able to discuss how you guys will be able to actually convert starts into your very good power play starts into significant scores? Because as we saw in the West Indies series, there were very good starts that led to 160s, 170s. So how vigorous have those conversations been?
Yeah, we certainly have had lots of chats about that. I think looking back at the West Indies series, a lot of that was down to the conditions. The conditions really did change throughout the innings and became extremely tough to score runs at the back end, actually. And I think we also have to appreciate the fact that the West Indies team bowled well. One thing on our part that we have discussed is, if you look back, a lot of the time we would maybe lose an in batter going into the, call it, last 5 overs of the innings, which is tough it makes it tough for the new guy coming in to sort of just hit a quick 30 of 10 balls. I mean, it's asking a lot from that player. So I think maybe taking responsibility as the batter that's in, at least making sure we're getting to that 18th over, and ultimately, ideally, being there at the end of the 20th over as well will hopefully help us rectify and get better in those last 5 overs.
The last 2 questions for us, and then Tianis.
Aiden, not a lot of us would have seen this ground, and it hasn't hosted T20 cricket for quite a few years. Can you tell us a little bit about it? What are you expecting from the pitch, and just like what's your impressions of it?
Yeah, we had our first training session there now this morning. It's a great facility. In terms of the wicket, I think Malahard's wicket was very much on the slow side, especially the more the games went on. I think there was a lot of traffic on the square there. looking at this wicket, obviously it's a lot fresher. Not too much green grass on it, but definitely a even covering of grass might result in a bit more bounce in the wicket. I'm not sure of the pace. I'm not sure how quick it's going to play. But certainly I think there might be slightly more bounce. That's just what I think. I'm no grounds and so I could be completely wrong. But the facility itself looks good. The outfield looks really quick. It's rock hard, the outfield as well. So I think hopefully in this the remaining T20 games, there's quite a bit of runs and some good entertaining cricket.
Thank you. Tinus?
Just to follow up on Conyuso's question, do the fact that you guys have a slightly longer tail, does that play on the minds of the batsmen? Do you feel like you can't really go full out because you have to protect the bowlers that needs to come in?
I think, I can only speak on behalf of myself, really. I've never felt that while batting. I think the times that we've lost the in-batter going into the death overs is pretty much been because the batter himself feels that he can pull the trigger and sort of try capitalize going into the death side of things. And inevitably, every time that's happened, we've pretty much lost that in-batter. So that's just one of the things we have addressed. Guys like George and KG have been hitting lots of balls, and we've got a lot of faith in them. I think KG proved it in the previous game, and George has proved it many a time up to the franchise level as well, that they're really good ball strikers. So I don't think we're doubting the ability that's coming after the batters. I just think we as the batters can probably take a lot more responsibility and at least have one of us there going into the last couple of overs, ideally batting through and getting a not out.
Thanks very much, everyone, for joining us. Aiden has to rush off to a batters meeting now, so they can discuss in depth a little bit more of what you guys were asking about. Thanks so much for joining us, and thank you so much for your patience with the fire alarm. Have a great afternoon, and we'll chat to you tomorrow.
Thanks. Cheers.
All right, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care.